Thanks for coming to my session, SEO for the Programmer, which is pretty much how to set up your site so that it's more accessible to your SEO analyst, so you have to do less work at the end. So, a little about me. I'm Ruthie Hassan, and I'm from Scout Marketing. And we're a full-service digital agency that works with consumer, B2B, and healthcare. I do mostly the consumer work, and that's a lot more fun than doing pharmaceuticals any day. So, let's see. I do sites that are heavy in metadata. I do a lot of recipes. So I have to mark that up. And about me, I like LARPing, crocheting, D&D, all that fun stuff. Also, if you're a senior developer and you need a place to work, just saying, we've got an opening. You can talk to me afterwards and we can go over that. So, getting straight into it. Rich snippets. An easy way to say is rich snippets helps search engines and crawlers to pull out the important data on your site. So you can have your ratings in 5-star, and it pulls in that information and it shows it in search. You've all seen this on this example for polished fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches. So here we have the ratings, the number of reviews, how long it takes to cook it, and a general description. And the great thing about this is everyone agrees on one standard, which pretty much never happens. So once you go through it for Google's, it works on Bing, it works on Yahoo, it works on somewhat on Facebook, but we'll go into that also. Basically, you do it once and you forget about it until they add a new feature and you have to go back in. So all of this is based pretty much on Schema.org, which is nothing more than an API on how to mark up your text. You put span tags around everything and it magically filters in. So I'm using microdata today. You can also use RDFA, JSON, whatever you like to put it in. So go out of here. There we go. So just to go through here, it shows schemas and well, fortunately, I had already pulled something up. It shows schemas, and you can go through, and it shows how each property goes through. Cook time, nutrition, prep time, and at the bottom of the page, it gives you examples of each type of markup, where you start off with plain text, and it's just simple HTML. Then you add all of the markup, which makes it substantially larger. So let's say you've put everything into a page in plain text. This is a pain to do page by page, and I've had to do that. Like you had to, let's say someone's name is Dr. John Smith. The entire name has to be marked up as name, Dr. John Smith, doctor as title, John as first name, Smith as last name, and each part you have to put in a different tag and a different span around the entire thing. So it can get overwhelming. Also, it's pretty much the same in all of them. So, the first part is front-end forethought, which, there we go, there's not much here. It's more of just thinking is how do you lay out your data? using just one text field for everything will bite you in the end. So you have to break it down, one for each field. Yes, it'll take longer for your data entry people to put everything in, or if you're putting in you, but it'll save you so much time, let's say a month after launch, 2 months after launch, a year after launch, because when they want to add, let's say, rich pins, which we do at Scout, all you have to do is click a few buttons and bam, they're there and ready to go. And we're actually going to go over that. So, demo time, because this isn't about slides, this is about how to get it done. So dear goodness. Here we go. So I've set up a beautiful Drupal site to show an example of how to set this up, and we're going to go through step by step. So you have your basic Drupal install, and we're going to do a recipe. First, we're going to look at our recipe content type and the fields that we put in. So here, I use the features that we typically use on a client site, and we have a lot of fields on the back end. We have video options, additional images. We load a high-res image just for Pinterest. Prep time, cook time, serving time, and all of that. And we feed this into multiple platforms. So this shows how we break everything down, and each section has to have its own tag. So with building the sites, I usually use Display Suite. You can use panels because they're pretty much the same. I'm just much more familiar with Display Suite. So after breaking down all of our fields, you go into your display. And this is, I'll show this before we continue. There's an extra in Display Suite where you add in, it's not on there, Display Suite extras. You activate it under the modules, it is included, and it allows you to break down each field you have into smaller parts. So that's the customized field templates. I like using this to strip out all the extra markup that's usually in Drupal. So instead of having 15 classes on one item, I rename all of the classes to make it so that going through my CSS, I know what it means. So also page title in case you want to change the page title, and hidden region. I want to add that in because if you're using views for a term reference or references in general, you would load an extra field in there that can't be seen, but it'll still help you to pull the data in through the URL in views. So back to recipes. And our display. So using Display Suites, you go in, you hit the cog, and this will let you change how everything is marked up. Usually when you get there, you have the Drupal default where you can decide, okay, I want to use, in this case for the title in H2, do I want it to link to the content, and so on. We move on to the expert layout, where we can actually decide each part of the field. For each one, I'm using field items, and I add the span that you will find under name. Well, I suppose they did not put name on there for. Well, it's usually on there. It's one of those that are in by default. And you would hit update. It updates, and you do it for each field. In this case, I've marked up the main image also. So item prop image, update, and let's see, we've done servings also. Each one of these, you copy and paste. Don't have the internet, so I can't show you the individual pages, but it shows you the section that you would just paste in. So once you have all of your item props in, that part of the data, another good part about Display Suite is, or you can do this in a custom field template, you need to add the item type to the top of the page. In this case, in the wrapper, the item scope and item type recipe. We hit save, and let's see. Sorry, I used a feature to bring everything in, and I did not bring the custom layout. So we have our peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and one of the tools I use is the Metadata plugin, which shows you everything that's marked up at the top. So you can see we're pulling in our name, the image, it's not quite feeding in, the recipe yield, the ingredients, and the recipe instructions. This feeds into Google, into Bing, and this is what shows the information underneath an entry. Also, well, yeah. So once you have that in, that is how you get snippets, and that's pretty fast. Let's see. The next part was Open Graph. Open Graph is used by Facebook and Pinterest. Pulling that in is just a few more steps. As long as you have proper names for all of your fields, you will just use tokens. And we're going to go search meta tag and the meta tag plugin. You would add a meta tag default, which is when you choose a default for a content type. In this case, we've already created one for recipes. And we go in and we set the values for each part. This is what, so you have your page title, your description, which pulls from the summary. How we do it at Scout is they usually put in a different blurb for the summary than what's in the body text. That's where they worry about keywords and all of that, and they fill that in once I'm done. And with Open Graph, you go in, I choose my content type food, and most of these are already filled in for me. All I have to do is take the token for the image, put that in, and it all feeds into Facebook, and you hit save. So there is a browse available tokens, and you'll see everything for your content type. And once that's done, you can use the Facebook debugger to see what comes out on your page. So for this one, I used individual shrimp scampi pizzas. Delicious. Pull that into the debugger, and it pulls the tags that are put out on the page. And every time someone shares it, you know exactly what they're going to see. This information also goes into Pinterest, but sadly, Pinterest was not working this morning. Let's see. I can't control the internet, sadly. Moment. So, let's see. Is there any? So let's see if we can get this to work. And it seems as though Pinterest is still down on the developer side. By the way, Pinterest's API is pretty bad. So if you just do everything Facebook tells you to do, it'll work just fine on Pinterest. But going through there, they introduced rich pins around the middle of last year, and they had no markup. So just do everything Facebook tells you to do it. You run it through the validator. You have a link that says, okay, we'll accept it. You clicked OK, and they send you an email an hour later saying you're accepted. That's how much it takes to set it up. And right now, through the, about 20 minutes I've been up here, you would have set up all of your snippets for Yahoo, Bing, Pinterest, and Facebook, and all of that would be feeding in. One more thing about the Facebook debugger, and this will get you on landing pages or if you make a content update before a big media push. Facebook caches everything. So you'll change everything, you think it's good, and then your social media person will go and they'll share something like, this is the wrong image, it's the wrong copy, it's the wrong everything. So you have to come in here and request that it fetch a new version of your page, because that has happened to me more than a few times. So, let's see, rich snippets, schema. So a few other small things. The tools I use in day-to-day work that really help to make my life better is I also add custom tags. So Google has a JavaScript library. The old version is ga.js, the new one is analytics.js, which is simply on-click tags. If you dig down more into it, you can do custom metrics. Sites like BuzzFeed collects about 30 different metrics for every person who logs in. They also log everything that you had that came through Facebook. They know your friends. They know where you live. They know a lot. But that's another day on how much information you can get through the Facebook API. It's fun stuff. So the first one, just to make sure that the tags are working, each like button on the page has a listener. So I do not want this full screen for this one. Excuse me, a bit of a Mad Max fan, so yeah. And I have a small case of tabitis. Tiny case of huge case of tabitis, okay? There we go. So, if we hit inspect element, and that still wants to be full screen, go to your console, and we see the GA debugger, which is this plugin, which you can find on the Chrome store. So every time you refresh the page, it shows you that there's a track page view going. so you know that your Google Analytics is working right now. This is also available in the Google Analytics plugin, but I'll go over that in a moment. So every time an action goes through that they want to be tracked, I click on that. It says that it's tracked a social click. This is really about a two-line JavaScript listener. Now, you can also make your analytics people do it themselves through Google Tag Manager, but they tend to mess up events, and it's really great. It's really good. You can tell them to do it themselves, but sometimes they forget events. So let's say there was a promotion and they didn't get around to sending tags or setting anything up. We can fall back on Google Analytics because I forgot this part, the Google Analytics plugin. Nifty. Which is you put in your UA code, and that's usually what I do, and I hit save and I call it a day. But more than that, you can set up who is followed, who is listened to. I tend to block users because our company should be the only people logged into the site so that we don't skew our own analytics. You can let people opt out, and this is what saves us, is the track all outbound clicks. So if there's a click that they forgot to track, if there's a coupon, anything, all of it automatically feeds in. All you have to do is check the box here. So if they forget something, tell them, look through a funnel, you'll find it all ready, feeding in. Let's see, turning on your display ads and such is just one click. Now, custom dimensions and metrics. You may go further into the JavaScript libraries and say, hey, I want to track how long someone's on the page. Well, no, that's already true. I want to track if they search for peanut butter. I want to track if they search for jelly. I want to know how often they come back. You can feed that in through custom metrics and just watching the page in JavaScript. You feed it in, they cross-reference it, and those are your metrics and dimensions, but that's more of a talk for Google. They give free classes 2 or 3 times a week. If you join I think it's Google Partners program now, or have someone in your company join up, you do not have to pass any of the Google tests, and if you've tried to pass their analytics test, it is not easy. Their tests are very hard, and I don't care enough. So, and also the debugger, you can enable it there, but that tends to slow down your site from what I've seen. You should never use that in production. So yes, going back to this page, we have our listener. That was the GA debug in the Chrome store. The next one is Page Analytics, which I created a master account that controls all of our Google Analytics and I would say webmaster tools, but it's now Search Console, and it pulls them all in. So if you're logged in under one, you should see a data pop up. Here we go. On what's currently going on the site and who's clicking where. So this is in real time, and it tracks people who are on the site as we speak. There's 17 people on the website right now. This is another tool to help mark it up, see where people are clicking and what they're doing in real time. And it also goes to help show whether or not something is working on the site. Because if you have it there and no one's clicking on it, they should probably change it up. So sadly, not many people click the social links on the side. Maybe some other time. So that's it for my demonstration. Does anyone have any questions?
What was the last extension?
The last extension, this is Page Analytics. Oh, I'll do one better. It's an official Google extension. And you've probably seen Inpage Analytics. That's where you go into Google Analytics and it shows you the page live there. This goes one step further and you can actually go through your site and see what's happening in real time. The only thing I would say is make sure to block your IP address, because as you're clicking around and you're not logged in, you're just racking up the clicks and skewing your numbers. We had that issue last year when for some reason Atlanta was the #1 city for cheese sticks and we couldn't figure out why. That's been fixed now. So yes, Farm Rich cheese sticks. If you go into a restaurant, you've probably eaten the cheese sticks. So yes, please remember to block your company IP address. Any other questions?
So at the beginning you were using Display Suite and Display Suite Extras to craft the fields to match Schema.org's schemas.
Yes.
Do you have a reason why to do it that way as opposed to using the Schema.org module?
I have using the Schema.org module. It's just I reuse that data all over the site. So I really like controlling how everything shows up on the site, and I like how it works in Display Suite. There we go. I have tried that, and the Schema.org plugin does not play well with Display Suite at all. That's why I didn't show it. I tried it, and the integration was a lot more code than I wanted to go through. So yeah, try that. Does not work with this. Also, if I move that recipe to anywhere else on the site, because here it shows up, we have related recipes in the footer, I can add that in and say, hey, there are sub-recipes on this page too. Here's the link to them. You should check that out because there's a related recipe field that you can use on Pinterest and Schema.org. Any more? Okay, well, I hope this helps you in the future to reduce your workload and no longer have a request of, can you change this tag? Can you add this here? Can you please add all of this markup? Oh, a year after we launched the site. It is not pleasant. Oh, thanks.